injuries.
This is the USPS. I mean, it's an agency that's very trustworthy. Anything that we put into their mailbox, we expect it to get from that point.
It's a case of missing mail with thousands of dollars in rent checks disappearing, and it's happening to tenants from an apartment complex in Clint. CBS 410's Ashley Claster is live in the newsroom to show us why the apartment complex is pointing the finger at the post office.
Rent checks from about 20 tenants who live at the Clint Palms apartments mysteriously vanished in January. Several of those renters were charged late fees, and some were even given eviction notices before the apartment realized there was a mistake.
They're telling me I didn't pay when I have forms to back up that I did in fact make the rent check that week.
We have lost 2 tenants already because they said this is just not right.
Tropicana Properties manages 22 apartment complexes, including Clint Palms. Residents from all of those properties mail their rent to the same P.O. box. But manager Abel Olivas tells me rent checks from 19 to 22 residents at Clint Palms never arrived.
Most of them have been here over a year. Why all of a sudden, here in January, we have close to 20 rents lost?
I asked USPS what happened. A spokesperson sent me a statement reading in part, "After a careful review of the mail in question, we have determined that inaccurate and or illegible addressing was the root of the problem." But Olivas says that's unlikely. He says most all of his tenants use an address stamp provided by Clint Palms.
I get my envelopes from the office there at Clint Palms.
I reached out to USPS a second time and mentioned the address stamp. I was sent a reply reading in part, "We stand by our statement. All of the subject envelopes we reviewed were hand addressed."
No, I did not self-address the envelope. The only thing that I self-addressed was the return address.
Clint Palms is giving tenants a grace period. No late fees or evictions until it's sorted out. But for now, the rent money is still missing, both for the tenants and Clint Palms.
If you have a property of, say, 100 tenants and you're only receiving payment for 60% of it, you have some loss here.
On March 30th, I can go and cancel that check since it hasn't cleared, get the refund for it, make out another check and resend the rent, but there's a 90-day waiting period on the check.
All of the February rent payments arrived just fine, and March rent is due today. The tenants tell me they are now being extra vigilant about getting check documentation just in case this happens again. Live in the newsroom, Ashley Claster, CBS 4 at 10.